The movie starts, and we see a painful accident because a plane has just crashed. The destroyed debris is scattered everywhere, and the number of dead people is in the hundreds. But luckily, a small child named Shin survives and is searching for his mom and dad, who are probably dead. Meanwhile, he hears the voice of a girl who was asking Shin for help. But he is so small that he does not understand what to do, and then a big part of the plane falls on that girl. Now it is not shown whether she was dead or alive, and the scene shifts to a few years later. We see Shin, who has now grown up and works at a car garage. Shin's boss, the garage owner, treats him like his own son. Shin also feels a reflection of his father in him because his mom and dad really died in that accident. The garage owner is soon going to open another garage, and he wants Shin to become its manager. But Shin refuses this offer because he feels that he is not right for this position right now. The owner still gives him a chance to think. While the owner's daughter also convinces Shin, because she also feels that only he will be right for this post. Now, another worker working in this garage was angry with this. The reason behind this was that he always felt jealous of Shin because the owner gave importance to Shin in every work. He often used to express his anger by harassing Shin. Even today, he bullies him, pushes him, and goes away from there. Due to this, Shin's mobile gets broken. That is why, after finishing the work, he went to a shop to get the phone repaired. There he met a worker girl whose name was Ao. Shin tells her that his phone is broken and asks her to please fix it. But according to Ao, it was a very old model and parts were hard to find. But still, she somehow fixes Shin's phone. That is why even at night when he was looking at his phone, he started remembering Ao. The next day he takes the metro to come to work, in which the hands of a man standing with him suddenly start disappearing. Then we come to know that Shin had got a power at the site of the plane crash. With the help of this power, he can see the future of people, especially their death. The disappearing hands of this man also give proof that he is going to die, but Shin cannot do anything. That is why he goes to his work, where the owner's daughter tries to persuade him to become the manager. But Shin does not give any special answer. At night, he passes in front of the same mobile shop, and his eyes were still searching for Ao. Meanwhile, a stranger collides with him and passes from there. Her body was also disappearing. That is why Shin starts following her, thinking what is going to happen to her. After going some distance, a car hits her and crushes her. Shin regrets that he could not do anything to save her. That is why he gets very upset. The next day, he asks the owner's daughter that if she gets such a power that she can see people's future and also knows when someone is going to die, then what will she do? On this, she says that this is not a power but a curse, and she does not want any such power. Now Shin sees that once again his mobile is getting damaged. That is why he goes to Ao again and gets the phone repaired. But he gets scared to see that Ao's hands are also disappearing. That is why he decides to save her and calls her to meet after finishing the work. Ao also thinks at first and then promises to meet in the coffee shop. When she comes, Shin sees that Ao's hands are getting cured, which makes him very happy. Ao asks why he called her here. To this, he says that he has the power to see the future. But he also doubted that Ao would not believe him. That is why he says sorry and leaves. But when he came out and started going towards home, suddenly he felt a sharp pain in his chest. But somehow he manages to come home. And the next day, with full confidence, he tells the owner that he is fully ready to become a manager. Also, he works in the garage till late at night, where Ao also comes to meet him. Shin is surprised to see her, and Ao tells him that she has taken Shin's address from the store and she has come here to talk about something important. Shin offers her coffee. Then Ao, while holding a newspaper, tells him that there is a factory some distance away from her store where there was an attack last night and many people died in this attack. Ao says she is among those dead people. It could have happened because she goes home by the same route after finishing work every day. But that night, Shin saved her. She says that she remembers that thing about seeing her future and death. She also thanks Shin, but he laughs it off. The next day, as soon as the owner's daughter comes to the store, she understands that someone had come here last night. She asks Shin about it, and he also tells her the truth with complete honesty. She is happy about this because this was the first time Shin was making friends with someone, whereas before this, he never allowed anyone to come near him. Here we are told a small story of the past in which a worker girl used to work at the owner's garage. She liked Shin. Both of them were just friends. Shin never paid attention to her. That is why that girl made a relationship with a rich customer who came to the garage and left from here forever. The story again comes to the present, where the owner's daughter and Shin hear the owner's voice, who was shouting at the jealous worker because he had taken a customer's car from here to meet his friend without informing the owner. But instead of accepting his mistake, the worker gets angry at Shin. He picks up something and hits Shin, due to which the owner punches him hard and fires him from the job. But as soon as that worker leaves, Shin sees the owner's hands, which are suddenly disappearing. It means the owner's life is also in danger, and because Shin considered him like his dad, he decides to save him. He decides to save him and asks him to have dinner with him after finishing the work. The owner also agrees and both of them start walking towards the hotel. But on the way, Shin's attention was only on the owner and the things around him. Meanwhile, from a dark place, the jealous worker was coming towards the owner with an iron rod to hit him, but Shin comes in between and saves him. Due to this, the owner's life is saved, but Shin gets a heart attack and he wakes up directly in the hospital, where the owner's daughter tells him that dad has forgiven that worker because he had confessed his mistake. After that, the doctor checks Shin and says that maybe this happened due to stress. Meanwhile, Shin sees a little girl who was disappearing and he tries to follow her. Then the doctor stops him and asks if you also saw that girl disappearing. After this, both of them go to talk on the roof of the hospital, where the doctor tells him that I also have this ability, and it is called Fortune Eye, which is also the name of this film. But we are common people. There is no God. Therefore, we do not have the right to change or play with someone's fate. And if someone does this, then on the contrary, his own life can be in danger. So whatever is happening to whom, let it happen. Otherwise, your life will be in danger, and this is also the reason for your heart attack. After this, Shin was thinking about this the whole way, and the next day he calls Ao to meet him and also proposes to her for marriage. But Ao leaves from here without giving any answer. But then the next day she agreed. Because of this, both of them start meeting and their love deepens. Meanwhile, the jealous worker comes to the owner again to ask for work. Then Shin also recommends him, so the owner hires him. Because of this, he thanks both the owner and Shin. The next day, Shin gets 2 rings made for himself and Ao. He also goes to the hospital for a checkup, where the doctor alerts him that if he gets a heart attack next time, he can even die. After this, Shin goes to his garage where a boy had come to get his car repaired. This is none other than the friend of Shin's same friend, that is, the rich customer with whom she had a relationship and left from here. That is why Shin asks him about his friend. Then this boy started saying bad things about him. He also spoke bad things about Shin, but Shin remained completely silent. The next day when he comes to take his car, Shin sees that this boy is also disappearing in the air, meaning that he is also going to die, but Shin decides not to do anything. A few days later, we see Shin at the funeral of that man when he was being buried, where his little daughter is crying for her father. Shin felt very sad after seeing that girl. Also, he repeatedly remembers the girl who was at the place of the plane crash, whom he could not save. The next day, he sits sadly in a park where some children are playing with their teacher. Then a girl comes to him and asks for a ball. But slowly, that girl's body also starts disappearing, and along with it, the other children and even the teacher's body suddenly started disappearing. That is why Shin checks the hands of all the children. But the teacher felt that he was doing something wrong with the children. That is why she leaves from there with all the children. A letter from the school falls from her hand in which it was written that the school children are going on a trip by train. He understands that something is going to go wrong. That is why the next day he goes to the station where many passengers are disappearing in the same way. Then Shin understands that the train leaving at 7:30 the next morning is going to have an accident. And he was completely sure of this because it was written in the school letter that the children are going on a trip the next day by this train. Then Shin remembers that Ao also travels by this train. That means her life was also in danger. That is why he goes to Ao's house at night to meet her, and was happy to see her safe and sound. But to save her from the impending danger, he asks Ao to go on a trip with him for 3 days. She thinks at first but then says yes, and Shin was happy too. But he had to save those children and other passengers too. That is why he calls the school to cancel the trip. But due to lack of any valid reason, the school authority refuses to cancel the trip. In the evening, Shin writes a letter in which he is telling everything to Ao truthfully. This includes the matter of the trip. He also writes how much he loves Ao. But his entire planning fails the next morning when Ao messages him and tells him that her coworker is unwell, so she is forced to go to the store. As soon as he reads this message, Shin starts running towards the station, but the police were waiting for him outside the house. Actually, the school teacher had complained against him that he was misbehaving with the children, but to save Ao, he escapes from the police. But on reaching the station, he sees that Ao has already boarded the train. That is why he takes a taxi and reaches another station, so that he can stop the train before it reaches there. Here he sees that construction work is going on, seeing which he understands that a can being used in the construction will fall on the train compartment, killing all the people. But Shin does not let this happen, and instead stands in front of the train with a smoke candle. Ao, who was in the compartment just behind the engine, also sees Shin and asks the driver to stop the train. Then the driver also stops the train. Meanwhile, we are shown the train falling down in his vision, but in reality, Shin had stopped this train accident and saved the lives of all the people. She immediately comes out of the train, where she sees Shin sitting on the tracks. But as soon as she came close to him, she starts crying bitterly. She hugs him because he had lost his life to save Ao and the others. At Shin's funeral, Ao learns that she is the first girl with whom Shin had met so much. This makes her even more sad. And in the next scene, we come to know that Ao is the same girl whom Shin had seen at the time of the plane crash, who had asked for help. Now Shin had saved her before the part of the plane fell, but he was in such a shock that he did not remember that he had saved her. Here the truth also comes out that Ao had the fortune eye too, and she was always looking for Shin. That is why when Shin came to the shop for the first time and reacted after seeing Ao's disappearing hands, then she understood that Shin was that boy. Also, she had boarded the train intentionally because when Shin had gone to ask her for a trip, Ao had seen that his body was disappearing. That is why she decided to travel in the train to save Shin. But Shin also put his life at stake to save his love. After this, we see Ao reading a letter that Shin had written for her. After reading it, she cries a lot and feels Shin by wearing the rings brought by him. And with this, the story of this film ends here. If you enjoyed this recap, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.